What is going on, everybody? It's KBR Sports, the best sports podcast of your 24-hour day. Thanks for you guys tuning into the podcast today. Definitely looking forward to talking about the events of the past weekend, especially the NFC and the AFC championship games. I think those are the two headliners of the weekend of what we've had transpire, and definitely a lot of controversial things coming out of both games over the weekend, particularly in the Rams and Saints game. So definitely want to get to that. But first, guys, let me say, please go and follow and subscribe to the KBR Sports Podcast on Rabble, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. So that way you're notified whenever a new KBR Sports Podcast episode is posted, so you never really miss a beat, as well as making sure that you follow the KBR Sports Twitter page at KBR_sports, where the links and topics are tweeted there prior to every single show, and different sports topics are just tweeted, are talked about on there as well. And also follow my Twitter page at AbinBrendan, where I talk about different sports ideas and things and so on. And make sure you guys comment, leave some replies, interact with me on Twitter, interact through the comment section on here. I always look forward to seeing what you guys have to say in regards to different podcast topics. So definitely make sure you guys are giving your input on different things that are on your mind in regards to aspects of the podcast. But yeah, guys, I mean, we had a very eventful weekend. We have our Super Bowl set now. It's going to be the Rams and the Patriots. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 36, in which the Patriots ended up winning that game. And obviously you have some older Rams players saying that the Patriots cheated back then and the whole nine. So we're in a situation now where it's going to be really interesting to see just how the things play out this year, because these are the two seeds in both conferences, and it's one of those situations where it's going to be exciting to watch, because you don't really know which way you're going to go on these things. A lot of people have a lot of factors in which they say they favor the Patriots. A lot of people have a lot of factors in which they say they favor the Rams. It doesn't seem like there's any clear-cut favorite in this game, besides the fact that maybe the Patriots have been here before. That is one thing that you chop up to them, and you just chop it up to experience. I mean, it's so funny that everybody was, I mean, trust me, I had the Chiefs pegged to win that game, and I thought that it was definitely going to be not the end of the era. I don't know what exactly would mandate the end of the era. I guess when they no longer are making the playoffs on a routine basis. I guess that's what I would consider the end of the era. I think I asked that even in like a previous podcast episode. I said, what would really legislate the end of the Patriots era? And I guess I would say that it would be the changing of the guard, in which another team was the team that everybody had to go through in the AFC East, or just in the AFC in general. But I just don't see how that's I mean, I think the Chiefs possibly would probably be that next team in which people have to go through, but it just doesn't seem as though the Patriots are ready to give up that title yet as the undisputed champ of the league, in which you're always seeing them in the Super Bowl. I mean, this is their 9th Super Bowl, guys. Their 9th. You know how hard it is to get to a Super Bowl, let alone 9 of them, between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady? They've been to more Super Bowls than the Steelers franchise put together as one. They've been to more Super Bowls than the Broncos as a franchise. I mean, that's a ridiculous statistic to think about, that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have been to more Super Bowls as a tandem than whole teams. If you think about it, here the Patriots have been to more Super Bowls than these teams combined. The Bears, the Saints, the Browns, Jets, Buccaneers, Texans, Cardinals, Titans, Lions, Chargers, and Jaguars. Those teams have 8 combined Super Bowl appearances. All those teams combined. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams have 8 combined Super Bowl appearances, falling short of the Patriots' 9. That's just ridiculous, guys. I'm sorry. That is so ridiculous. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at this point when I think about it. And we just have so many storylines. Like I was saying it last week, that in terms of what we're having here, when we have the young genius in Sean McVay and Bill Belichick. I mean, it's the largest age gap of any head coaching matchup in the Super Bowl history. And when you're looking at different aspects of what Sean McVay was in high school playing football when Tom Brady was winning his first Super Bowl. Let that really sink in. I mean, it's really crazy to think about. So when we're looking at just how these teams end up performing and just what the real full-on matchup is between the two teams and just all the little microcosms that go into it, it's an exciting thing to take in, because everybody always says McVay is the young upcoming guy. He's a genius. Bill Belichick is the reigning genius in the league. His system is undefeated. His team is undefeated. Like, even though the Patriots have been to 9 Super Bowls, granted they've lost three of them. They've lost 3 Super Bowls, and that's to the credit of 2 Giants teams and the Eagles. But even if the Patriots were to say lose this Super Bowl, you gotta tip your cap off to the fact that this team has been able to get there 9 times. 9 times in the modern era. You know how difficult it is to get to 9 Super Bowls. Just look at the NFC. Look at the NFC and look at how many different teams are always coming out of the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. That just shows you how difficult it is to make it to a Super Bowl. It is hard, man. It is so hard. And for them to always be the ones to make the plays, for them to always be the ones to have that level of discipline, and in effect be able to be the ones that when the going gets tough, they're the ones that make that next level play to ascend them to that next point. You got to give them a tip of the cap for that. Now, let me review the game in totality of when they played the Chiefs, because I think that game in and of itself was such an interesting game. Because at first, watching the game, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking it's going to be a blowout. I am not going to lie to you guys. I mean, from the first look at it, it just seemed like it was so in favor of the Patriots, and the Chiefs just couldn't get anything going. I mean, the Chiefs didn't score until the second quarter. Like, the Patriots were up 14-0 in the first quarter, and it seemed like it was one of those games where the Chiefs were just being dominated. And the Chiefs, I mean, it was the whole first half. No, sorry. The Chiefs didn't score until the second half. So the Patriots went the whole first half, dominated them. I mean, the Chiefs couldn't move the ball. Their offense was struggling in everything. And the Patriots just seemed like they were going to be in cruise control all throughout, and it was going to be a rout. It seemed like the Chiefs defense did not show, or sorry, the Chiefs offense didn't show up. They weren't able to get anything. Tyreek Hill, I mean, you just see when you go and look at how Bill Belichick game plans and schemes, and how he's able to work different things he wants, different matchups and stuff. Tyreek Hill all year has been a number 1 target for Patrick Mahomes. Between him and Travis Kelce, they have been the number 1 targets for Patrick Mahomes. They've been the most electric players for Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense. Tyreek Hill on the season, 87 receptions. That's 15th. He's tied for 15th. 1,479 yards. That's 4th. And 12 touchdowns. That's 4th in the league. Averaging 17 yards per reception. Let me tell you what he had Sunday night. Tyreek Hill, 1 reception for 42 yards. I'm pretty sure most of you remember that reception too. That big completion down the field. That's the only reception Tyreek Hill had. They literally took him out the game entirely. The Patriots executed the game plan. They said, we're not going to let X, Y, and Z beat us. We're not going to let the premier players on any team beat us. You're going to have to beat us with the other guys, like a Sammy Watkins, who has 4 receptions for 114 yards. And those kind of have those kind of guys make those kind of plays, because we're not going to let the guys like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce only had 3 receptions for 23 yards. He did have 1 touchdown, but 3 receptions for 23 yards. This is a all-pro level kind of tight end we're talking about here. Totally taken out of the game. It wasn't even a factor. So when we look at just how the Patriots were able to execute a game plan, and it was pretty obvious what the game plan was. When they elected to receive the kick, or when they elected to receive the kick at the beginning of the game, the game plan was obvious: to keep the ball at Patrick Mahomes' hands. This is going to be a staggering stat for you guys, and I really need you guys to really sink this in. I'm letting you know ahead of time, so you really take this in for what this stat I'm about to give you, just how big of a differential it is, and how big of a disparity it is. So in terms of time of possession, that means how much time in game clock you had the ball for. The Patriots had the ball for 43 minutes and 59 seconds. The Kansas City Chiefs had the ball for 20 minutes and 53 seconds. Guys, do you realize that the Patriots nearly doubled the Chiefs' time of possession? That's ridiculous. You know how hard it is to do that. The Patriots literally beat the Chiefs by death by 1,000 cuts. They took their time up the field. They didn't rush anything. There was no sense of we need to hurry up and get up to, like, they kept the tempo down and really maximized or just squeezing every second out of the clock. The Patriots' first drive took 8 minutes and 5 seconds. Their first drive was a touchdown drive. Took 8 minutes and 5 seconds. Guys, it was like the game plan was executed almost to a perfect T. Like, literally, Patrick Mahomes and the offense, because of the fact that they weren't able to convert anything in that first quarter, I mean, the Patriots were sitting happy on a drive. Like, every single Chiefs drive was a punt in the first half. They literally couldn't get anything going. And then you go back on the other end, and the Patriots are just draining the clock. Like, they're milking the clock to Lord knows how long. They took up both possessions, and the Chiefs only got one possession in the first quarter. Their lone punt, that's the one possession they got. And then Brady threw an interception in the end zone at the start of the second quarter. That's how the Chiefs got another possession. But besides that, the Chiefs had one possession in the first quarter. That just shows you how much the Patriots took the ball out of the Chiefs' hands. And the Chiefs were still in a position to win the game in overtime. If that coin flip doesn't go the Patriots' way and the Patriots don't get the ball and get a chance to receive, I mean, I even sat here. The minute I saw that the flip was in favor of the Patriots, trust me, I was like, oh, this is game over. The game is done. There's no chance. Because the way that it was, the feel of the game was just in the sense of, oh, whoever is going to get the possession in overtime is going to win the game. That's how the game felt. And then it had a feel of whoever, like Tom Brady couldn't be stopped going up the field. Like when Patrick Mahomes and those guys drove the field to tie the game with that field goal, I just knew you left way too much time on the clock. When they actually took the lead, when they took the lead, I was like, they left too much time on the clock. You can't leave that much time on the clock for the Patriots. And then let's talk about this is where we start getting into the controversial stuff, because on the Patriots come from behind drive in which they took the lead and they scored a touchdown, there were two calls on that drive, one not being as controversial, one being very controversial. So there was a roughing the penalty call that was called on the Chiefs, and it was like on a brush of the helmet on the play on Tom Brady's face mask. And the roughing the passer call essentially extended the Patriots' drive in a situation where people were sitting there and like, oh wait, that would have possibly been the end of the drive, but it extended the Patriots' drive. And it was one of those things where you saw the play and it was pretty bad, because the defender kind of goes by Tom Brady and like whiffs his hand at Tom Brady in front of his face mask, and they called the roughing the passer play on that. And this was a separate drive from the other play call. Or other penalty I was talking about later on. But this drive is the drive that made it 24. It made it 24-21 in favor of the Patriots. So and they called the roughing the passer play, and that essentially extended the drive for the Patriots, and it helped them because on that it was an incomplete pass for Julian Edelman that would have made it 3rd and 7 on that drive. I mean, granted, the Patriots are converting long third downs all day, but I mean, roughing the passer penalty, that's a big penalty to get. It's a 15-yard penalty. So then it was just one of those calls that you're like, oh my god, because they literally, it was barely anything. His air went in front of Tom Brady and they threw the flag. And it was one of those that you're just like, this is what makes people get so mad at the Patriots. It makes them hate Tom Brady the whole nine, because it was like it was just such a tough slate. It was such a tough one. So now when I look back, when we take a step back and then we look at the play later on in the game, and on that play later on in the game, that is just, that's on the fault of the Kansas City Chiefs. D Ford had a offensive or offside penalty, and he was clearly lined offsides because Tom Brady throws a pass to Rob Gronkowski. It bounces off his hands and it gets picked off, which would have ended the game. But because D Ford was lined up offsides, the call was reversed, obviously, and so they got the 5 yards and they were able to continue that drive, go down the field, and score the touchdown that put them up. And obviously the Chiefs responded with their field goal. But it was one of those situations where you just sit back and you're like, man, this is what the Patriots make all the plays. Granted, Tom Brady wasn't perfect. He did throw some picks in this game, and this could have been a near pick that would have lost him the game. But the Patriots just make all the disciplined plays when they matter most. And those disciplined plays always result in them getting wins. The Patriots won't beat themselves in a lot of circumstances, where in this game you can make the case that the Chiefs beat themselves. If the Chiefs didn't wait till the second half to show up and score all their points, you could make an argument they could easily have won this game early, mainly throughout. Might not have had it go to overtime. The Chiefs literally scored every single one of their points in the second half. All 31 of their points came in the second half. Like, their offense looked entirely different from first half to second half. It looked like a mirror looking at a different reflection. And so when we're looking at it, you just sit back and you're like, man, the Patriots just always find a way. Even though you could probably make the case the Chiefs were a better team, you make a lot of arguments. I guess that they lost, they're not better, but you can make a lot of arguments that roster-wise, they were a better team. And they were poised. They had home field the whole night. They were just poised to be able to score in that situation. Whereas the Patriots, who were disciplined, who weren't going to beat themselves, made the plays. They made the least amount of mistakes to make sure they weren't going to beat themselves and take themselves out of that game. So you got to give credit to the Patriots in that scenario. You got to definitely credit them for being able to just keep the Chiefs off the field. Like, that time of possession stat it's enamoring to me, how they were able to keep Kansas City off the field for that much time, and also able to take out their most lethal weapons and be able to win the game in Kansas City. It was impressive. I kid you not. But let me transition to the NFC, guys, because I think everybody knows the NFC game was the most controversial one. The storyline revolving that game, pretty much nobody even cares about Drew Brees' legacy at this point. Nobody cares about the Rams going to the Super Bowl. At this point, it's all about this no call. Everybody is talking about the no call that didn't happen. Everybody is upset and up in arms about it. So let me comment on this, because obviously I had the Rams going to the Super Bowl. I'm a Rams fan, but that doesn't cloud my judgment of bias. I understand where Saints fans are coming from and how they're upset, because it was an obvious pass interference call. All right, there's no debating that. It's not like people are sitting back and saying, "Oh no, that wasn't a pass interference," or trying to debate whether or not it was pass. No, it was a pass interference call that they missed. The league admitted wholesomely that they missed that call. But here's the thing, though. On the Rams' previous drive that they had, in which they had to settle for a field goal on a third down where Jared Goff was scrambling to try and get into the end zone, he had his face mask grabbed. And the refs missed that, and they even said on the broadcast, oh, that was a face mask. And it was missed by the refs. So that wasn't called, and the Rams had to settle for a field goal. Well, if that face mask is called, the Rams have first and goal on the Saints goal line, where they can run some clock, obviously, and they can also go and score. They might just, you never know what could happen, because you never know what could happen. Anything could have happened. So, not to say it was a guarantee that the Rams would have scored there and scored a touchdown or whatever, but they definitely would have taken some more time with the clock, possibly, if they weren't able to punch it in. And it's a situation where now the Rams are up more. Instead of having to tie the game, they're actually up by 4 in that situation. So now when we're looking at the Saints play, now when the Saints play happened, when the Drew Brees pass was thrown and everything, the pass was broken up, there was 1 minute and 45 seconds left on the clock. All right, because I've been hearing all these pundits and all these people talking about how the game would have been over, blah, blah, blah. And I understand where they're coming from in that aspect, but to me, it kind of makes me feel like people don't understand basic math, because the Rams had 1 timeout left. There was 1 minute and 45 seconds left. Now, the play clock, I think you have 40 seconds on the play clock to run off. Now, if you're just kneeling each play, the play ends on your kneel. Okay? So, if you're kneeling 2 times, and let's say that it takes about 2 seconds off the clock to take a knee or whatever for the clock to run and everything like that. So then if that in total, that's going to be 40 seconds plus 40 seconds is 80. So that's 1 minute and like 20 seconds. So at least the Rams are going to have 20 seconds, maybe 15 to 20 seconds to drive up the field and try and score a field goal or try and kick a field goal or something like that. Because the Saints, what Sean Payton said they were going to do was just take multiple knees, take 3 straight knees, and then kick a field goal. Granted, I don't know about Sean Payton just saying that after the game or afterwards, whatever, because Sean Payton, a few plays beforehand where it was obvious he should have ran the ball to run the clock some more on the Rams, threw a first down pass to Michael Thomas that was incomplete. So for you to say in hindsight, oh, now, yeah, after all the criticism saying that I would have nailed it multiple times, then I actually believe he might have actually tried to run the ball or even try to, I don't think he would have thrown it, but I think he might have actually tried to run the ball in. And if he actually tries to run the football into the end zone and they score, they could actually score and then the ball would go back to the Rams with more time left. And the thing is, I hear all these people up in arms and saying the Saints would have won. Guys, what if the field goal would have got blocked? This is the thing, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Rams. I would be saying it vice versa if it happened to the Rams. Because I'm a kind of person, I look at it from all angles. What if the field goal would have got blocked? This has been the year where we've seen kickers have been Cody Parkley, or whatever his name is, from the Bears. We've literally seen how unreliable field goal kickers have been all year. It was a credit to Greg Zuerlein, Greg the Leg, for hitting his field goal to send the Rams to the Super Bowl. That was a credit to him because it's not something we're seeing from every single kicker this year. He got more praise because it's a tougher feat and something that the kickers haven't done every single game of this year when they're put in those situations. A lot of kickers have missed in those situations. The same credit you gave Harrison Butker for the Chiefs when he tied the game and sent them to overtime where they lost to the Patriots. And so that's why I wanted the situation regarding this penalty. Everybody just keeps saying the game would have been over. The game would have been over. Look, I understand where everybody's coming from and thinking. Now, I'm not deluded in believing that the Chiefs' odds of winning the game don't skyrocket if they call that. Definitely they skyrocket. The Saints. Definitely they skyrocket, and it's a high chance that they win the game with that. But even though they didn't win the game in regulation based off that play, off the penalty, didn't they play in overtime, if I'm not mistaken? I'm pretty sure they had an extra period similar to what the Patriots and Chiefs had, where Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints offense had a chance to win the game. Now let me ask you this. If I asked you before the game, and just in any scenario, I didn't name teams or anything like that, and I said, if I told you that you could have home field advantage, the 3rd best scoring offense in the NFL, a top 5 quarterback of all time, and the ball to win it in sudden death, would you take it? So many people would say yes. Especially if once I uncover the fact that you're playing in New Orleans, the Superdome, one of the loudest places in the NFL, when I'm gonna let them know that you have tools like Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Mark Ingram at your disposal to use, those kind of weapons that pretty much nobody's been able to deal with all year. And then the fact that you have a top 5 quarterback all time in Drew Brees, who was an MVP candidate this season and was 2nd runner-up to Patrick Mahomes, if not 3rd to Andrew Luck as well. So when we're looking at that situation, Drew Brees had a chance to win the game in overtime. If they win the game in overtime, who cares about the missed PI call? We're not talking about that today. Nobody's talking about that today. It might be a blimp on the radar, but we're talking about the storyline about the Saints and the Patriots. People are talking about the missed PI call because they feel like it was an egregious call. It was so obvious, and the league should look at that. I mean, you can't miss a call like that. And that's me saying that as a Rams fan. You can't miss a call like that. It was just so obvious. You can't miss the call like that. But all these people saying, but, they had to throw the flag on the Saints would have won that game. There's no way the Rams would have. Let's pump the brakes. The clock wouldn't have run out to triple unless that was a play to decide the game. The clock wouldn't have went to triple zeros, and that to me is what makes this just. I can't definitively just like I get where people are upset at, but at the same time, you're not going to have me sitting here saying that this penalty matters more than what it happened later in the game. Yes, but the Rams could have had the same gripe if the situation is reversed. If the Saints gonna win this game, the Rams not getting the face mask call, if the Rams are at first and goal, the whole game changes. If the Rams get that face mask call, it might not be as blatant, but last time I checked, a penalty is a penalty. I didn't know that it was one of those situations where, oh man, like that's just not how things work. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. If you lie, you lie. It's not like I told a little lie. No, if you lied, you lied. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. And they all the yardage that they both would have tacked on would have put both teams in at first and goal. So it's one of those situations where I just don't think that when people are trying to equalize and say that, oh man, this would have done this or this and this thing, the Rams actually got called for more penalties than the Saints did. People can ignore that now, like that just doesn't mean anything. I mean, there were missed calls all around, but the Rams got called for more penalties than the Saints. 7-3. And this is at the Saints' home field. So the Saints had opportunities to win this game. Whenever anybody puts a loss on one single play, especially when you play in overtime, I understand the Saints' perspective if this was to decide the game and there was no overtime. There was an overtime. Drew Brees got hit and threw up interception. They weren't able to protect him to the length that Tom Brady's offensive line protected him, and the Patriots are able to drive up the field and go score on the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. No, they were at home. They had all their weapons. They had the third best offense in the league. The third best scoring offense in the league. Scoring, the one thing that they're supposed to be elite at, scoring. And they weren't able to go and punch it in. Now, everybody's going to give me all these different responses, all that. But guys, at the end of the day, unless you could definitively tell me that the Rams wouldn't have won the game if that play would have happened, because the clock wouldn't have been at triple zeros, even if the Saints would have tried to run it down with the three knees, because the Rams had a timeout. Because if we're playing the if when game, it works both ways. If you want to tell him, I can say, oh, what if Sean Payton, because he wants to burn the first time out, runs it and then the guy fumbles? What if on the field goal kick it gets blocked, they return it back, the Rams win? Right? Those are all possibilities. But nobody wants to hear that because everybody wants to say, oh yeah, Saints would have won. You have to look at it both ways. And that's the way the game of football works. It's a possibilities game. And just so happened to be that the Rams ended up winning the game when it was all said and done. But all right, guys, this is going to wrap it up for the KBR Sports Podcast. It's been Brendan Abbin. I'm glad to have the best sports podcast of your 24-hour day. Obviously, talk these different topics with you guys. And definitely give me your feedback. I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about the call? And if we have to look at overtime rules, if we have to look at different plays being able to be reviewed. Because I feel like now this play became such a big thing. It overshadowed the achievement of what the Rams were able to accomplish by making it to the Super Bowl. And either way, in my opinion, no matter how it would have shaken out, neither team, if people want to say the Rams didn't deserve to go, then the Saints didn't deserve to go. The Saints had home field. They had an advantage in multiple aspects. And then if you want to tell me that if the face mask doesn't get applied, then the Saints didn't deserve to go, because then the Rams would have got cheated out of points as well in a different situation. So either way you slice it, then you can just say neither team deserved to go. But I mean, the team that won it in overtime, when you both get an extra period, one team went and did that. When the game started over and they had the home field behind them, the other team came in there, made the place to win. So to me, that's the team that deserves to go. And that's the team. And the Rams did their part. And I know the podcast is wrapping up, but I did just want to outline a couple other, because the Rams did their part as well, similar to how the Patriots took Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce out the game. The Rams took Alvin Kamara in terms of rushing the football, and Mark Ingram. They didn't have any success running the football. They averaging 2.3 yards per carry. Now, throwing the ball, different story. Alvin Kamara was killing the Rams. He was making the linebackers look silly. He had 11 receptions for 96 yards, making them look silly. But Michael Thomas, the unguardable Michael Thomas, 4 receptions for 36 yards. If you didn't hear that right, 4 receptions for 36 yards. Traquan Smith, 1 reception for 10 yards. I rest my case, guys. I rest my case. And Todd Gurley didn't play much in this game either. I think Todd Gurley's having an issue going on right now. I'm not totally sure. Obviously, once I find out more information, I will definitely include that in the next podcast. But guys, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe to this podcast. Always appreciate everybody that supports it. And make sure you follow on Rabble, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube, so that way you don't miss a beat of the KBR Sports Podcast. Make sure you follow on the Twitter page at KBR_sports, where the different sports topics are tweeted about on there, different videos and stuff are posted. And make sure you follow me on Twitter as well, at AbenBrendan, where I talk about a lot of different sports and different topics, stuff like that. I talk about video. I talk about anything in life. It's just my life. That's my Twitter page. I talk about anything on there, so go check that out. And also make sure you guys just leave a comment and maybe tweet. You can reply to me on Twitter. Go ahead, find my handle at AbenBrendan, and give me different thoughts and ideas that you guys might have about the games from this past weekend. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about these in more depth as well on Thursday and different stuff like that, because we might have a Carmelo sighting in LA, even though the roster is filled out for the Lakers currently, because Carmelo was traded to the Bulls and it's going to be waived. So those are definitely things we're going to be talking about and looking into. But guys, until then, have a great rest of your day, and obviously we will see each other later on in the week. I'm out.